So good. Can we first start with introducing yourself, probably, at this stage?
Okay. Hi, my name is Anssi Tikka. I come from Solita, and my role here is to work with international sales. For background, I've been working in the industry for 10 plus years now, doing everything from, let's say, strategy consulting all the way to support calls in 2 a.m. in the morning. So, but no line of written commercial code ever. So that's not me. And for sure, Solita, we are the data company, so we do consulting related to all aspects of data.
Yeah, hi, Kyosti, Laiho, Koppa, IBM. On the IBM software side, managing databases and the sales for IBM in Europe. Having background in consulting some time back, having worked with a startup company for 10-15 years, including in Europe and in States, in Silicon Valley. And right now based in Helsinki and looking after the database sales for IBM. Having written quite a bit of code as well in my past.
Fateh Naili from Information Builders. So I have 20 years experience in data integration and data management. So our company, Information Builders, is a software editor in data, business intelligence, data integrity, and data integration. I've been working as a technical expert in data integration and data integrity, data quality, data management for the past 20 years almost. And the people here, I've been doing coding. I've been involved in different projects worldwide.
Good. Thanks for being here today. So we're going to start with the first question, which is you're meeting a lot of customers and you have worked on different projects, as you mentioned, internationally. So can you give us some best examples of aligning data strategy with analytics or analytics with the key strategic objectives of the company? So how can we how the business can dwell with good data and a good data strategy analytic?
Okay, when it comes to try to align, this data strategy and analytics with the business need or the business importance within a company, us, information builders come up with different way and different best practices. And one of them is obviously to be able to do this what we call data value assessment. I think we start with that, and it's very important to be able to sit down with the customer as a partner and try to figure out how we can, through this data value assessment, make sure that we all agree between the gap between the IT, obviously, and the business requirement and the business priorities. And based on that, we come up with a number of processes to put in place. And then the last bit is obviously choosing the right technology. So very often we talk about people, we talk about process, and we talk about technology. And it's very important. I think we are going to talk more about it, but trying to collaborate and creating this collaboration between what I call the business and the IT to be able to make sure that this top-down approach can help in filling the gap between the business and the IT.
Yeah, I think the key word that you mentioned there is the value, like really understanding the value of our data and the value that we are trying to derive out of it. So, and I think that's the key thing to make the business people and IT talk about the value that we are trying to create. It's quite often a difficult conversation in the start to get the people in the same room and start talking about, okay, so what do you expect to get out of this idea that you have? Because business, they have quite often lots of ideas, but then IT is, they see IT as an obstacle that you are somehow trying to slow us down. No, we want to understand that you have to take this into production, we have to have governance and things like that. But value is the key there, how to align a strategy with the IT objectives.
I'll throw a couple of additional thoughts, perhaps, to what you just both said there. To me, I think how I look at things is that the business is there for a purpose. You are serving customers, you are doing manufacturing, you are delivering something, and there are a lot of people who are part of that process. So that data availability for those people who actually are responsible for that day-to-day job, for delivering customers something, for manufacturing something, that type of data access is crucial for the whole operation of the business to actually survive well and do good for the customers. Then we have a lot of management people who are interested how well we are doing, and that's a different set of data that you need to align for that purpose. And I would a little bit want to separate perhaps those two from each other, because the real throughput of what the organization does, from manufacturing to the delivery and the customer service, those people who actually are in front of the customer or part of the manufacturing, they need that data on day-to-day basis. So that is often forgotten that that's a high priority in my mind for aligning the organization and the data setup for that. And then how you get that reported to the management afterwards, or how do you do predictive analytics in terms of where we are going, that's a little bit different set of organization and data. And I would a little bit separate those two and align according to that. And then of course we have the innovation and the new business development. And there is usually another set of data that you are working with. But aligning those different areas usually makes sense, and then I would work with that.
Okay. So the next question is actually a little bit more, it's a practical question from one of the delegates, right? And it's in line with what you're discussing. It's about bridging the gap between IT and business. But this question has been around, at least in my 13 years in experience of organizing these events, every conference that we are on is how to bridge the gap between IT and business. So the concrete question is actually, do you think that business information architecture and data analytics should be linked or rather be part of a same organization? Because analytics is typically placed under IT with the business information in business, right? And so how do you see this usually in organizations when you're going in and speaking with customers or working on projects? Where do you see how this is organized in the organization, and where do you see the biggest pitfalls in?
I guess I would start, just because within information builders we have, like I say, a different set of technology going all the way from integration to business intelligence. And the funny thing is, very often when we talk business intelligence or when we talk data integration, the people are different within a company we go to discuss the different solution. And what I'm seeing as an evolution of technology right now, especially with information builders, but with any other companies, what we try to do is to be able to have a business-oriented type of solution to make sure that this collaboration we've been talking about, which means the business and the IT, collaborate together. And more, what I see as a solution all over is to say, okay, now we have a technology, but the technology is driven by the business, and somehow, the IT get involved to be able to put, the platform. And the platform means for me, for example, the data management solution to be able to export the data for the business.
Yeah, I think in terms of aligning the organization, how do you do that? I think I see a lot of organizations driven in a couple of different ways. One is who owns the budget, who has the money. Is it the business or the IT side? And then, who runs that, who has the ownership on the people with that budget, runs a lot of decisions there. So that becomes often a top management decision. The classic thing, the other thing, way of thinking is that IT is a separate unit, and you try to optimize and maximize the efficiency of that organization. And I'm not sure if that's always the right thing to do also, although it depends on the size of the organization, because IT is part of the business. It's the key part of the business in many cases. So why wouldn't the business actually own also the IT part that they use for that? But then you have this matrix organization easily in place that, you want to have the special skills to run the IT, and therefore that's a separate unit. But it often doesn't make sense from the business point of view. It is just an efficiency organization as such. So I see a lot of organizations keeping the IT still kind of separate and running their own business, running their own budgets, and then the business keeps complaining, why aren't you delivering? And the IT is a little bit wondering what the business wants, because they keep changing their mind all the time. And the mismatch is, usually always there. So that's what the controversy is always all about. And I don't think there is any, obvious good solution for that. You're trying to survive what you have, and whether you have a CFO organization, the CIO organization, where you have your chief data officer, whether you have this or that, that really depends in the end on the people that are running the organization, because they choose their way of working as well. So I would always a little bit look at who is there as a person, as a manager for running the show.
Yeah, continuing on that, I think I try to say this as respectfully as I can, but it's a bit of a stupid question, because we see these organizations where there's the business, then there's the IT, then they create something called business IT, who's not talking to anyone in the end. And it's more a question for the top management on how to align the organizational objectives. If IT and business are aiming for the same goal, then it doesn't matter where your organizational box really sits. That's the way I see it.
But that's why, just to keep, going on this, it's very important to talk about a data management team, which, contains, different type of people, like, technical people, business people, C-level people, and etc. And based on this collaboration, you get to the next level, and you you reduce, the gap between, the technical IT projects versus, the business need.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. The next one is as well a little bit practical, and it's about how fast can you align business and IT, or in the same sense, is on the same note, data processes says that they are not necessarily in line with the business processes or systems. So how can you fast track them and align them in a very, very quick time? But we are talking about, the question is coming from an organization with a very complex environment where they have 5 major business units and around 33,000 employees, it's a very decentralized organization. So this is a tough one, but it's...
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge. I don't think that you can give like a lead time when you are done. With that kind of an organization, you are never done, since the business landscape is evolving, new technologies are becoming available. So it's more a question of how you manage your portfolio of data initiatives and then apply the governance on top of that. So there's lots and lots of different kinds of IT and data teams rolling in an organization of this magnitude, and you just have to have like a coherent set of rules that they all have to follow, but then give the freedom and agility for the teams to deliver business value on their own.
Yeah, I think the question is kind of a tough one. You lose this?
Yeah, you can take this. I'll fix that.
Okay. All right. How the batteries? Okay, let's continue. So it's a tough question, and aligning data and business processes and how fast you can do it. To be honest, in a very large organization, I would say I'm probably retired before you are done. I think you are probably retired before it's done. And even if you were successful, the business has already changed before you are done. And then you have the mismatch again there. So I would go with whatever 80-20 rule, trying to do the best out of it and focus on where the bulk of the business is today, and where that needs to be reported. You will never get it right, and you will die trying it. And the organizations are too complex, the business is changing, the applications are never perfect. So I would a little bit be cautious about even trying to achieve the perfect world there. I doubt you'll easily succeed there.
Well, obviously, I agree with that, but the real goal is, to be able to, again, help in this matter, is to be able to create, this agile kind of platform or framework to facilitate a number of things. So if tomorrow, for example, through a merger and acquisition, for example, within a company, you need to add another system to your overall processing, this platform you are trying to create in terms of integration, but also data management, should be agile and flexible enough to help you, doing so, to then, respond to the business need under the cover. So obviously, yeah, this is difficult to put in place, but somehow the processes to put in place and the thinking around the architecture is very important on the platform to deploy through the right technology, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. Having that goal in mind is a really good thing to have, and going to that direction is absolutely the right one. So you need to align as much as you can. All of us trying to say that trying to be perfect is not very easy in today's world because the complexity is there, the history is there, the legacy is there, and the changes, acquisitions, divestments keep on going all the time. So, it is a difficult goal as such. But there are good tools, there are good people, good consultancy to help you getting there faster, and you get close to the goal. But keep in mind that you need to be changing that goal while you move forward.
Can I borrow that for a second? Yes. So the next question is about, is building a data management system that meets the company requirements a good idea for the company, or just buying one of the available choices? I think that the question is more aligned towards buying an integral, holistic data management system, or building with the multiple systems available on the market.
Well, I think if somebody was participating in the presentation that I gave with Richard from Semarki, our view is clear that there are lots and lots of good tools available on the market, but even on an ecosystem level, you don't want to lock yourself into any one box. So we see the data architecture and the data management system more as a set of rules, set of governance, set of tools that you apply on the corporation, and then separate the data from all the business systems, but build it based on your actual business needs, based on your actual current IT system and data management base that you have. So nobody is starting from scratch. Maybe some startups are, and they have the freedom of choice, but the rest of us, we have to live with the legacy that we have on our hands and build on top of that. But as Kyosti said a moment ago, keep the goal in mind all the time.
Yeah, if the question is build versus buy a database solution, a data management solution, I was in a company who built a database solution. It took quite a few years to make it really good. If you remember MySQL and the InnoDB under it, the InnoDB database, that was written by my classmate from school. I know the guy who wrote MySQL. Building a data management solution is a fair amount of effort. A lot of people, a lot of man years. Even if you build it, you have to then maintain it as well for the next 10 to 15 years. I would be able to give you, 250 different database names out of my hat right away if you need it. So there's a lot of choices in the marketplace for choosing a suitable one. So I would definitely go with buy versus instead of make. This is a solution for Nordics or Europe. If I was in India or in China, I would probably say the opposite. There's a lot of low-cost resources. You can absolutely build one. But I think in the Nordics, I think we are used to seeking for the productivity of the people. And in that sense, building a new one completely out of scratch probably doesn't make sense. There are just too many choices available for selecting one that is close enough to what you need.
Yeah, I think the question is, how do you define data management system? So if it's a database or if it's the entire data architecture that we are talking about.
Well, when I think about data management, I think about not only persisting the data or storing the information, but also being able to have this version of truth of whatever domain, to be able also to do analytics on top of it and so on. So like you've been saying, data management for me is a very complex exercise or platform to put in place. So I will definitely not go building a data management structure through an in-house development, but maybe best-of-breed solution, because you have much more features and functionalities added on top of this data management platform, for sure.
Yeah, I would continue on that choose the appropriate tools, buy them, and then build the grand vision out of those tools, because you don't want to become your own vendor for a certain part of the platform.
Good. So the next question is about scaling analytics throughout the organization. So let's presume that the question about linking business with IT doesn't exist. So what is the best scenario? How can you actually fast track, or how can you scale analytics throughout the whole organization?
I would say it's about making people become interested about what analytics can provide. One example is we had this customer organization who wanted to become data-driven. Their top management was committed to the idea, and what we did there was we did some quite simple dashboarding, did some data warehousing, and then built a dashboard on top of that. Then made it available for the entire company, all the screens throughout the corporation showing the same data and showing the same dashboards. And then the team waited there. They waited for 1 week. Then on the second week, the people from sales came screaming, no, this is not true, this is not true. Okay, hey, what do you mean? What would be interesting for you guys? And then from there, the conversation started going on. They had people who were interested in analytics, wanted to apply, now they had a talking relationship. What would be useful for you guys? And then the local people in the organization, when they got value out of their data, they started telling it around the organization. And it was surprisingly fast. Within 6 to 12 months, the whole organization became surprisingly data-driven in their thinking.
Yeah, one element clearly I think there is that what's the size of the organization, what's the scale of operation you have. If you are, say, Excel bound, you are processing thousands or tens of thousands of rows, that's your analytics, and Excel is really, really good in doing a lot of things. At least I like it a lot. But then again, once you go to a level where you are processing, your analytics is more 100 million rows, 2 billion rows, 50 billion rows, and you have, hundreds of people needing that data, I think then it's completely on a different scale of question, and you need to select your tools and your architectures accordingly. So how do you scale up is really dependent on how extensive the amount of processing, the amount of data you have, and how large group of your organization, how many people are really working on that, and then how much you can deliver, whether it's self-service access, whether it's some fancy user interfaces, or where do you want to go, and what's the value that you're trying to give. I again go back to the whether you are dealing with the people who are on the day-to-day basis. It's more about what do I need to do today type of thinking, or then when you start providing more analytics, more science, and more predictive analytics, more artificial intelligence, then you need to go to the next level, and that's another issue where you have to have a proper architecture to clean up the data first to be able to be productively providing that to your organization.
I must agree with what has been said. I mean, again, it's depending of how many processes behind the scene you have to deal with, and therefore, when you just have a Excel, I will say, mechanism to do analytics, for sure you will not leverage that. If your landscape becomes very complex, and if you have many different systems to deal with and so on. So I totally agree with that.
I have one last question here, but before I ask that question, can we have somebody from the audience to ask some question to the panel in regards to this?
If you elaborate the question about database management system and skip the technology part and talk about the data management system, I mean data models, information infrastructure and so on. Pros and cons about developing your own versus in-housing something that comes from a vendor.
Did you hear that? Or? No?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, I think it was more about the complete data modeling environment than just a database management system as such. And I think majority of the solutions are more, say, application bound. You buy this application to serve a business purpose, and that delivers and process automation or you name it. Another question is that data model is specific to that application, and you are a little bit bound to that. Now the question is, if you want to extract data from there and you build a new data model, then I think those data models that you can buy readily available are rather templates that you would then use for building your own customized implementation anyway. It will speed up your modeling work, that's for sure, and therefore a lot of customers use that. But still the ownership, understanding this is my business and this is how I use the template, this is how I evolve it, relies on the customer's own organization side. So I think you need to be prepared for taking that ownership and evolving it, to the direction that is needed. So that doesn't come automatically for you on a silver plate that, I don't need to do anything, I'll just buy it. I think you need to be prepared for, taking a sample, a template, and then evolve it for the next 5 to 10 years, because that's where you are really heading to anyway. It will never be completely ready, but it will help you go there faster.
I mean, just one thing. Obviously, data modeling in a data management environment is key, is very important. That's why, you need, obviously, to maybe use a template or create your own based on this, collaboration and discussion within your organization. And sometimes, templates is just, 70 or 60% of what we want to do. For example, for customer, item or product, whatever. But data management doesn't mean just, data modeling. It's much more than that. There is, a lot of other processes like data quality processes, data integration processes, and therefore you have to have this in place or as a mindset to be able to go further than just, the data modeling part. So building versus creating your own doesn't limit itself just to the data modeling part. Data management is way beyond that, integration, data quality, and so on.
Yeah, I think the idea of template serves a good example. When you use a template, you cut something that would take 24 months into 18 months when you are trying to fit the business to match the template and then adjust the template accordingly. But if you have the right tools, right partners, I would say that you can get quite far in 2 months instead of using a ready-made template. And the same goes like a build versus buy. If you look at the modern cloud platforms, what they offer, the idea there is that pay as you go, pay as you grow, and the same applies for the entire platform. That if you start building your data management solution in the cloud, then there you can deliver value as you are creating costs instead of first purchasing a set of tools, paying the license fees, and then you only have the costs at hand. Then wondering, okay, how to create value out of this.
Perfect. So we'll move with the roundtables now. If you can all give a round of applause for the panel for now.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
So